Imagine you are walking quietly through a forest at night. You notice a raccoon nearby. It sees something unfamiliar on the ground. It doesn't rush toward it. It doesn't immediately run away either. It stops, it watches. Slowly it moves closer, one paw reaches out, it touches the object. Then it pulls back, it looks again. Another touch. And only after gathering more information does it finally decide what to do. But why? Is the raccoon simply being curious? Or is something much more interesting happening? Could that hesitation be part of how a raccoon understands the world around it? Because when you watch a raccoon closely, one thing becomes difficult to ignore. It seems to investigate with its paws. And that tiny behavior may tell us something surprising about how this animal makes decisions. Welcome to Animal Mind Lab. If you want to explore the hidden decisions and strange abilities behind animal behavior, subscribe to Animal Mind Lab, because sometimes the most fascinating intelligence is hiding inside behaviors we barely notice. Now, imagine our human observer standing several meters away on a quiet forest trail. He's not approaching the raccoon, he's simply watching. Near the edge of the trail, there's an unfamiliar object. The raccoon notices it. For a moment, nothing happens. The animal watches from a distance. Then it takes a few steps forward. It stops again. It looks at the object. It moves around it. And then comes the paw, a small touch, not a dramatic reaction, just information. The raccoon doesn't seem to be asking, "What is this?" in the human sense, but its behavior suggests something important. Before acting, it may be gathering information about what it has encountered. And this is where raccoons become much more interesting than their reputation suggests. We often think of raccoons as animals that simply search through garbage, steal food, and cause trouble around human neighborhoods. But that picture leaves out something important. Raccoons live in environments that constantly change. At night, they may encounter food, obstacles, predators, unfamiliar objects, other animals, and human activity. They cannot afford to treat every new thing exactly the same way. Some things are useful, some are dangerous, some are completely irrelevant. So investigating first can be valuable. And the raccoon's paws are especially important here. Their front paws are highly sensitive and capable of delicate manipulation. That means touching an object isn't necessarily just physical contact. It can provide information, texture, shape, movement, resistance, and possibly clues about whether something is worth investigating further. Think about what happens when you find something unfamiliar. You don't always pick it up immediately. Sometimes you look at it first, you move closer, you touch it carefully, you decide whether it feels safe. The raccoon doesn't need to think exactly like a human for the basic principle to be useful. Its nervous system has evolved to gather information from its environment and respond to what it finds. And that brings us to something even more interesting. What if intelligence isn't always about solving a complicated puzzle? What if intelligence can also be knowing when not to act? Our observer watches as the raccoon approaches the unfamiliar object again. This time it doesn't touch it immediately. It waits. It watches. Something changes in the environment. A sound comes from the trees. The raccoon pauses. Its attention shifts. Then it returns to the object. That tiny pause matters, because the animal isn't living in a world made of isolated objects. Everything is connected. The object, the smell in the air, the sounds around it, the movement of another animal, the possibility of food, the possibility of danger. The raccoon has to process all of this while deciding what to do next. And suddenly, the simple act of touching something doesn't look so simple anymore. It's part of a much larger process. Observe, gather information, wait, test, then decide. And there's another reason this matters. Raccoons are highly adaptable animals. They can live in forests, wetlands, agricultural areas, and even environments heavily influenced by humans. That means they regularly encounter situations their ancestors couldn't have experienced in exactly the same form. A strange container, a new barrier, a different food source, a human-made object, a changed environment. Survival isn't just about remembering one perfect answer. It's about adjusting when the situation changes. And that may be one of the most useful ways to think about raccoon intelligence. Not as a tiny human brain hiding inside an animal, but as a different kind of mind, built for a different kind of world. Our observer looks at the raccoon one final time. The animal touches the object again. Then it moves on. There was no dramatic discovery, no obvious aha moment, but something important happened. The raccoon encountered information it didn't have before. It investigated. It responded. and then it made a decision. That's the part we often miss when we look at animals. We expect intelligence to look obvious. We expect language, complex tools, human-like reasoning. But intelligence doesn't have to look human. Sometimes it looks like a raccoon standing in the darkness, waiting, watching, reaching out with one small paw, and deciding whether the unknown thing in front of it is worth another look. So the next time you see a raccoon investigating something, don't just think it's being nosy. Look a little closer, because that hesitation may be telling you something. It may be gathering information before making a decision. And perhaps the most fascinating question isn't, how smart is a raccoon? It's this: how much can an animal learn from simply taking a moment to look, touch, wait, and decide? This is Animal Mind Lab. If you enjoyed looking at animal behavior from a different perspective, subscribe, share the video, and stay with us for the next animal mind we explore. Because the more closely we watch animals, the less simple their behavior becomes.